Okay, hello, welcome everyone to the year-end planning workshop that you wish school taught you. So Janice and I have been doing these workshops quarterly, and we really wanted to bring you something that was quick and fun and easy for you to get something out of in just a short period of time and implement it quickly so that you can start the new year off strong. So in this workshop today, our main goal is for you to feel like you know exactly what you need to do in order to wrap 2025 up and start 2026 off with a bang. And so with that, let's dive in. In our workshop, we are going to start by reviewing what happened this year. And that's your first task when it comes to your year-end check-in. Review what happened with your money this year. Next, I want you to decide what matters next year. And then lastly, we're going to set ourselves up for success with a few action items to move forward with. And make sure you stick around to the end because we will have some free resources for you as well as a live Q&A if you have any questions.
Some housekeeping items. If you have questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and submit them into the chat and write question in caps before your questions. All participants are going to be muted during the workshop. And if you have additional questions, you can follow up with Dana or myself. We will have our contact for you at the end. But in the meantime, pull out a pen and paper and get ready to take some notes. And just for everyone's knowledge,
Mhm.
all content provided in this webinar is for informational purposes only. We are here to educate, not advise. Every person has a unique financial situation that requires unique attention. The presenters of this content are not responsible for any financial decisions you may make. All right, get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Janice. I am a financial coach. I work with people who want to take charge of their money, and that's both personally and also in the business realm with small business owners. Dana?
Hi everyone, my name is Dana. I am also a personal finance coach. I love working with young professionals to help them really align their budgets, their money with their values and their goals. I know that it is hard to succeed financially with the way the world is set up, so I love to help people find a system that works for them to help them find success. And we're really excited to be here working with you today. So I want to start by talking about the importance of this year-end financial checkup. So why are we here? Why have we all dedicated this 30, 40 minutes to sit down and think about our money? Well, because it's important to assess the progress from last year to find the motivation and keep going and plan for success in the new year. When it comes to thinking about your money. If you do not sit down and look at your numbers at all throughout the year, if you do not take the time to focus on your money, except for this one time in the year, then use this one time really strategically. If you're here, you're already doing more than most people, so kudos to you. But when it comes to your money, we'd love for you to be checking in on it monthly or quarterly, but we know that that isn't always realistic. And so looking at your money one time a year in this quick year-end checkup is really a great place to not only be able to find success in the past year, but also to be able to look forward and find success in the new year. And I want to preface, this does not just have to be like an end of the year, new me kind of thing, but there also are some things in this workshop that we're going to be talking about that are important to do at the end of the calendar year due to taxes and contribution limits and all that fancy stuff. So how I am going to start is I have 5 steps that almost every single person should be doing with their money at the end of the year, right? These 5 steps are things that apply to everyone that deals with money, which is all of us. And then I'm going to pass it off to Janice, and she's going to talk about some more details that most of us probably should be doing, but that not every single person needs to go into a lot of detail with. So make sure you stick around to hear those things, but really take some good notes and pay attention because these first 5 things are going to be steps that every single person should take some time to do. So, first step is going to be to check in on our budget. I can get this slide to switch. Awesome. There was a preview of what the second step is. So first step is going to be to check in on your budget. I really want to make sure that you are looking back at your spending throughout the year. And I know you might not have a whole year's worth of data. So I want you to look back at the last 3 months. So not just December, but we're looking at October, November, December. Write down all your expenses. Categorize what mattered to you and what really surprised you. And when you're doing that, I want you to take a moment to celebrate your wins. Maybe your restaurant budget was under what you predicted. That's a win. Maybe you saved for a trip to Europe and you're able to pay cash on your Europe vacation. That is a win. I also want you to spot patterns. When you're looking at 3 months or even a whole year of spending, it makes it a lot easier to spot patterns with our money. Maybe there are subscriptions that you forgot about, Target runs that turned into like a big cart of things that you don't really need or remember what you even bought. Or maybe like gas and food inflation got the best of you. These are really important things to notice. And there's not necessarily things that you need to take action on right this moment, but it's important to know them. So, your one action item after you've checked in on your budget is to circle one category that you could maybe reduce by about 10% next year without hurting your life, right? I don't want you to do a whole overhaul of your budget at the end of the year and say, like, this is going to be an awesome year and I'm going to stop spending anything. That's not realistic, right? I want you to find something that you could maybe reduce by 10% and put it towards something that you value more. I want you to look at where your money actually went. What spending brought you joy? What really matters to you? And what can you change in the new year to kind of reflect that more? So we checked in on our budget. The next step is going to be to calculate your net worth. This is something that I personally like to do every single month. A lot of my clients will do it once a quarter, but checking in on your net worth at least once a year is a really good measurement of progress because it's not really working to measure your income as a form of like success, but measuring your net worth is a really useful tool. So how you do that, right? You take your net worth, that is your assets minus your liability. So your assets are things like cash, investments, your home. Liabilities are going to be things like your credit cards, your car loans, debt, student loans, etc. And if you want more information on this, our first workshop of the year was all about budgeting and personal finance, and we went in deep with this. So check out that workshop for more information. But I recommend you use tools like YNAB, Monarch, Empower, right? Great tools you can use. Also, a pen and paper, a spreadsheet, my personal favorite. These are things that it doesn't take a lot of time to calculate your net worth, and it's a really good check-in because it requires you to look at every piece of your money. So write down on your pen and paper, your action item for this is if your net worth increased this year, I want you to celebrate that. And if it didn't, think about why. Maybe this is an area that you can improve on, and maybe that's why you are here. So step one was checking in our budget. Step two was looking at our net worth. And step three is going to be checking in on your sinking funds. So some people call these buckets, some people call these vaults, saving buckets, etc. But I call them sinking funds. And what they are they are ways for you to take your uneven expenses, take your either unexpected or like once a year type of expenses and really smooth them out throughout the year. So things like travel. Maybe you've been saving up for travel every single month this year and you didn't end up going on a vacation, but you know you want to go on even a bigger one next year. Maybe you need to increase that travel sinking fund. Maybe you know that you need to get new tires on your car, but you haven't really been planning for that. Now is the time to open a car sinking fund and start saving for that monthly so it doesn't hit you all at once. If you already have sinking funds, you'll want to make adjustments. But if you don't have sinking funds, now is a really great time to set them up and to start. So I want you to write down 2 sinking funds that would make your life easier. 2 sinking funds that you would be excited and feel good about putting money into those each month. Pick your categories, estimate an annual amount, divide that by 12, and that's how much you should be automating into your sinking funds each month. So again, this doesn't have to be a long process. It could just be a quick check-in, but it's really important for everyone to do this at the end of the year. Okay, now that we kind of have our numbers figured out, right? We have our savings, we know what our net worth is, we've looked at our budget. It's time to get really clear on your goals. Your goals for the new year or just your financial goals moving forward, they don't have to be brand new goals. They could be ones you're already working on. They should be specific, they should be measurable, and they should really align with your values. That's the thing that I love working with my clients most on is finding goals that they're not just ones that you think your parents want you to do or ones that society is telling you to work towards. They're ones that actually align with your values and you have a really strong why behind why you're working on them. So set up automatic transfers, maybe set up personal times where you can check in on that goal and get really clear on it. Maybe it's having an emergency fund of $12,000 by December. Maybe it's maxing out your Roth IRA, or maybe it's saving up to pay for a trip to Europe. On your piece of paper, write down one financial goal for 2026. I want you to circle it, put some big stars on it, make it really clear, and come back to that goal. Make sure that it 100% aligns with what you want for your money in the new year. Okay, I hope we're feeling good. We've looked at our budget, right? We've looked at our numbers. We have a goal. Now, how are we going to stick to that? I want you to pull out your calendar, and you can do it after this or right now. Set aside a monthly money date. This is a really important time for you to check in on everything. And like I said, if this once a year, end of the year, is the only time that you're looking at your money, if you're doing it good enough, fine, that will work. But I would love for you to be checking in with your money once a month. And maybe that's every other week on payday. Maybe it's the last day or the first day of the month, like I like to do. Whatever it is, you can go to a coffee shop, you can light a candle, like it can be 5, 10, 20 minutes, it could be an hour long. Find what works for you, but at least dedicating that time to yourself and holding yourself accountable is really important. So I hope those 5 steps can help you feel like you're wrapping up the year really in a confident place and starting the new year off successfully. And Janice is going to dive into some more of the nitty gritty, some cherry on top things that we can be doing with our money.
All right. Thank you, Dana. Hopefully everyone has those 5 steps down. To continue on, this first item was our topic from our last workshop about credit, but for those who were unable to make that one, quick overview on credit. Um, we want to, besides doing all the other 5 steps, we want to review our credit score every year. We want to just make sure the report is accurate. And if it's not accurate, we want to correct those errors before it gets further along and it really affects your actual score. So how we can do that is we can go to annualcreditreport.com. You can get free credit reports from all 3 bureaus and just download that, do a quick check, make sure credit cards that are opened are credit cards that you opened, or even other loans. As I mentioned last workshop, my friend, he had a random student loan opened up in his name, and it was not his. So he had to dispute that immediately. Besides reviewing credit score and credit reports, those who have credit cards, we want to check if it's worth keeping these credit cards, especially if you pay annual fees. They always increase, so we want to make sure whatever credit cards you have, you're still using those perks. And if you plan on canceling or downgrading them, that you use up whatever perks you have before they expire. So key point for this step is to download your credit report and review it. All right. Next one, investment. This was our second workshop of the year, and investments are uh, they're a lot. But those who are investing, the main key points for a yearly review are to make sure that your investment strategy is still the strategy that you want to continue with in this upcoming year. Everyone has a different strategy, and sometimes because of just how the market goes, you also have to either reallocate or rebalance your assets. Therefore, sticking with the strategy that you have decided for the year. So that's something you should do. Then there are also a couple just kind of strategic ones. Tax loss harvesting. If you have gains that you had planned on doing, but you want to offset taxes for those, there is a strategy called tax loss harvesting, where you can sell losing positions to offset the gains that you had. And at the end of the day, it's making sure we stay disciplined so you can avoid the emotional reaction to market volatility. So in that, that is the main item I want you guys to write down is to make sure you have a investment strategy for yourself that is written down. Because if you write down what your strategy is, you are less likely to make emotional decisions when something happens with the market. Because you can always look back and say, hey, this is my strategy, and that's what I'm going to stick with. Not saying you never change it, but it's not an emotional change. It is a, hey, this I planned for it. This is what I'm going to do. And if you want to um, re-strategize, you can, but we want to do it from a place of emotional stability and not emotional reaction. All right, accounts. There are a lot of accounts that you potentially want to contribute to, and it is smart to open them before the end of the year. You don't necessarily have to contribute to all of them before the end of the year, but we want to make sure that they are opened. And the next slide will show us which of these accounts we should consider. So, 401ks and IRAs. 401ks are through your employer, and some people, transfer to a new company. We want to make sure that 401k is set up. And if you haven't contributed to the limit and you want to, you have a few more paychecks to go, and you can try to maximize your contribution into the 401k for that. For those who have Roth IRAs or considering opening Roth IRAs, the Roth IRA account needs to be opened before the end of the year. However, you can contribute to the 2025 max before tax deadline of next year. So just as long as if you're considering it, I would definitely open the account. You don't have to fund it if you decide not to fund 2025, but at least you have the option to do so. HSAs, for those companies who offer HSAs, definitely want to contribute so you can get that triple tax advantage for medical expenses. And those who have FSAs, we want to use up the money in that account before the end of the year. One thing for FSAs, like for myself, I have a $500 rollover. So even if you don't use up every single dollar, let's make sure you submit your receipts so at least you get into that rollover amount so you're not losing your money that you put into that account. All right. And I know there are some entrepreneur, small business owners here, and I want to make sure we talk about you guys as well. Um, there are three main items I want you guys to think about. First one, business and goals. How well did your business support your personal goals? A lot of times as business owners, we kind of forget the whole point of having our small business is to fund our personal life. So we do have to look at them separately to make sure one is supporting the other. And a lot of business owners, we tend to kind of mash everything together and there's no clear separation. So we want to make sure one supports the other. Second one, money systems. What systems will set you up to run more on autopilot? Same thing. When you first get started, especially, you are the one and only person in the business. You are wearing all the hats and you only have a certain amount of time. So, what system kind of took a lot of time this past year that you feel like could run on autopilot more? That's not necessarily hiring somebody, but is there something AI could help you with to just automate, even just emails and or sorting your inbox, anything that will save you a little bit of time goes a long way because your time is money. Last item is money stressors. How did you combat your biggest money stressor? And this one kind of goes to everybody, but especially as small business owners. Um, Money, stress come hand in hand because you're like, I have to make money, otherwise, can't support myself. But the question is, what was it and how did you combat it? And if you don't know how to combat it, that is something to think about and potentially work with a coach on. So these are kind of the main points for specifically small business owners that I would like to have you guys think about. That way, when you go into the new year, you're more supported in your business, which then supports your personal finance.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Janice. I know we promised you guys a short workshop this time, and we are going to fulfill that promise. So we are wrapping up with a little bit of a summary for you. What are the steps that you need to take before 2026 to make sure that you start the year off successfully when it comes to your money? And I've been promising everyone when talking about this workshop that you will leave knowing exactly what you need to do with your money. So if you have not paid attention at all to the workshop, screenshot this page. Like, this is your checklist. It's all the things that you can, should, or should at least be thinking about doing with your money. First, review your spending from the last 3 months. Note if your net worth went up, and if not, think about how you can make that happen in the new year, right? Net worth is assets minus liabilities. List two sinking funds that would make your life easier, or two sinking funds that you can adjust if you already have them. Write down and circle one financial goal for 2026. Again, big stars, get really clear on it, make sure it is aligned with your value. And schedule a monthly money date on your calendar. Make it fun, make it cute, like vibe out with it. This is something that can really set you apart when it comes to your money this year. Pull that free credit report at annualcreditreport.com. Make sure that everything looks good. This doesn't take long, right? Hopefully, it's just a quick look and move on. Write down your current investment strategy in simple terms so that when the market goes crazy like it tends to do at the start of the year, you know exactly what your plan is. And review your accounts and your 2025 contribution limits. I know one thing I wanted to mention on this, Janice, is I've worked with quite a few clients lately where they want to start contributing to a Roth IRA, but they're not ready to do that quite yet. We have them open the account anyways, right? So that maybe in January, February when they're ready to, they can go back and take advantage of those 2025 contribution limits. So those are some really great things that every single one of us can be doing with our money.
Right. And then for the small business owners, rate how well your business supported your personal goals. That to me, that is a big one. So you need to know separately one to the other. Second, identify systems to help your business run more on autopilot. And then last one, note how you handle your biggest money stressors and what you'll change, or maybe do the same, whichever one, but how did you handle your stress?
Awesome. And we wanted to mention that if you have any questions, Janice and I are both more than happy. We love talking about money all day, every day. So please reach out to us. Um, all of this combined can be very overwhelming, right? You might have seen that list in the past last page and been like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do any of that. Like, where do I even start? If you feel more overwhelmed after this workshop than you did before, that's probably a sign that you need just a little bit more support. And that's not a bad thing. Janice and I both have openings up for the new year where you can meet with us as a personal finance coach and get the support that you need to not only accomplish these action items, but accomplish many more. And so if that's you, please jot down our information here. Reach out. We would love to help you out and just mention that you joined us in the workshop. And with that, we want to move on to our favorite part of these workshops, and that is the live coaching and Q&A. And I believe we have some questions in the chat, so we can go through those. But in the meantime, I wanted to put up some free resources here. These are ones that we thought would be most relevant to you right now. Each of our workshops has new free resources for you to check out, so we would love if you could download them, take a look, and hopefully find some more information that is helpful for you. So let's look at some questions.
There are some good questions here.
Okay, Janice, this is a good one for you. Will your credit be dinged or reflect badly if you check it? I was under the impression it isn't good to check your credit score, but then again, I don't really know how to monitor effectively if that is the case.
All right. So there's two different parts of you're when it is dinged versus you checking. So when other third party, let's say you're trying to apply for a mortgage or open a new credit card, they do what is called and they run a credit check on you. So when they do that, you will be what they call dinged because somebody was looking into you when you are looking for yourself, and that's where you can use annual credit check, annualcreditreport.com, or you can actually sign up through Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion directly. And this is free to do. They do have paid services that most people do not need. So just ignore those when those pop-ups come up. You can sign up to all of them for free and actually monitor your credit. Um, when you look through the websites yourself, there is no ding because you are asking for information that is already out there. So you can actually check as much as you want. You can check every day. I highly do not recommend that. But once a quarter or once a year it is fine. And something I didn't bring up on this one, but that was in our credit workshop, was I do highly recommend freezing your credit, which we have a resource here to kind of give you step by step on how to freeze your credit. That way, there's no chance of someone else trying to open something, and you can just unfreeze it when you know you are applying for a new credit line. Hopefully that answers your question, Bryn.
Awesome.
Does, thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely good to check it out as much as, not as much as you can, but as much as you feel necessary. Don't get obsessed over it for sure, but good to do. Next question. If you're planning to contribute to a Roth IRA and normal investments, does it make sense to front load and do the Roth IRA first or chip away at both over the full year? And I have some thoughts on this, but there's no necessarily right or wrong way to do it. When you say normal investments, I'm going to assume you're talking about like a brokerage account, not a retirement specific account. But it really kind of depends on what is your cash flow going to look like throughout the year. If you know, like, hey, I have this really well-paying job from now till June, and my first priority is to max out my Roth IRA, then maybe you start with your Roth IRA. And then if June through December you have a temporary gig or, some not so steady income, maybe that's when you put it in normal investments. But for the most part, we want to average out how much we're investing throughout the year. We don't want to put everything in the market in 1 month. And then if the market dips or increases, right, it can get a little bit crazy. Where if we are able to even it out throughout the year, it smooths our return, it smooths our risk a little bit. Personally, what I do is my number one priority is maxing out my Roth IRA. So I only contribute up to the match in my 401k until I get my Roth IRA maxed, and then I'll go back and contribute more to my 401k. And that's just what works best in my mind. It makes me feel more motivated to invest more in my Roth IRA. But it would be the exact same thing if you did the $600, whatever it is a month in each account every single month. And you could set it and forget it and not worry about it. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Janice?
No, I think it just, yeah, it depends on, I think cash flow is the biggest one. And
Yeah.
some people it's just like, oh, I got a large lump sum. And if you feel like if that lump sum just stays in your account and you feel like it's not doing anything, then put it into either Roth IRA or normal investments. Just whatever feels right to you is what you should do. And yeah.
Yeah, if you're investing, you're on the right track. So that is the key here. Let's see. If you have any more questions, throw them in the chat. We're happy to answer any follow-ups as well, or if you want to come off mute and ask those follow-up questions. One thing I wanted to touch on is, let's say you went over budget with the holidays. I get this question a lot. Like, I went over budget. do I start over next month or do I try to catch up? What are some thoughts you have on that, Janice?
Ah, that's a good one. I think my initial one is it depends on what you mean by over budget. Do I have the money to pay it off, or do I not have the money to pay it off? I think that kind of,
Yeah. The
if
way
I have
I
the
think
money to
about
pay,
it
yeah, go ahead.
is, let's say you gave yourself a certain amount of money to spend on Christmas gifts, right? And you spent more than that, or you spent more eating out than you had planned. And a lot of people do this when they're first learning to budget because they don't really know what's realistic. So they might set a number that's not realistic, go over
Yeah.
it, and then they're like, oh, I'll just pick a new number next month and try to hit that. In that case, don't start over next month, right? Like try to adjust. Your budget is not something that you set at the beginning of the year or the beginning of the month and it stays the same. You might have a travel budget at the beginning of the year and you learn halfway through the year, like, oh, that I need to adjust that, right? You can make changes throughout the month. You can make changes throughout the year. Maybe you went over budget on your Christmas gifts, but you've been spending less eating out. Like, great, move some money from one category to the other. Budgets are meant to be fluid and they're meant to give you freedom, not be restrictive. And so that's something that I want you to keep in mind when you're looking at an entire year's worth of planning, right? It's not meant to be restrictive, it's meant to be fluid.
Yes, so I totally agree with that. And I think my main one is to just make sure your overall, what you're spending is within your means.
Yeah.
That's I think how it's kind of separated within these different budgets is the fluid part. And you kind of learn as you budget more what actually is accurate for you.
Yeah, for sure. Let's say someone's net worth went down this year. Did I fail? Did they fail? And I want to say no, right? Your net worth can go down for so many reasons. Markets can change, right? You could be paying off debt. There could be a million different reasons why your net worth went down. That does not mean you failed. So if you're just doing this check-in once a year and you noticed it went down, don't use that as a judgment on yourself, right? Use it as a tool, not as a rule that you did good or you did bad. Janice, one last question. Can you change contributions mid-year? You talked a lot about how it's important to get those contributions in at the end of the year, set up automations, etc. But can you make changes in June, July, August?
Yes, you can make contribution changes any time of the year. My main one is you just have to calculate. Some people, depending on when you get a yearly review, it's not in January or in December. Some of them are in the middle of the year. So you're making more money now. Let's change your contributions, whether that be to your, Roth IRA, to your 401k, or even just a sinking fund, right? That's the best place or best time to do it is actually when you get a paycheck increase because you don't want to just spend that money without knowing where it's going to go. If you know this is increasing, let's figure out where we want to put that money so you can save towards your goals.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all the questions we have for today. Thank you all so much for being here. We want to remind you that the choices you make today are hopefully making your future self happy. So, thank you for showing up. That is a huge step in your financial journey, just being here, dedicating this time to yourself. We do not have our next workshop scheduled yet, but that will be coming. Keep an eye out. We love hosting these workshops quarterly, so keep an eye out for the first quarter of 2026. Thank you all.
I was going to say, Bryn had one more question that popped up
Oh,
right at the end. So,
let's hop into it.
okay. All right. The question is, how often do you two personally check your net worth? I did the beginning of the year and end of this year. First time checking net worth. Awesome. But curious about different approaches.
Yeah.
Dana, would you like to start?
I'm a money nerd. I am dealing with money all day, every day, right? I check my net worth every single month. So I do kind of money minutes weekly, where I just do a quick minute looking at my money. And then at either the last day, the first day, around there, I do more of a money date where I sit down. And the first step of that money date or maybe it's more like the second step, is to just update every category, or not every category, but every account. So I know how much is in each account in my spreadsheet, and it just automatically calculates my net worth. So I update it once a month. I don't necessarily compare it every single month. I'm not looking at kind of how it's changed and analyzing it. I do that more on a quarterly or yearly basis, but if you have the right systems in place, it's easy to do it more often. But definitely once a year is a healthy amount of time to look at it, if not quarterly. What about you, Janice?
I do 2 times a year, at least on the net worth side. So one at the mid-year around like June-ish, and then one at the end of the year. And for me, I try to automate everything. So at least for the month to month, savings is already done, all that stuff. So I don't worry about that. And I have my sinking funds. So for me, the money that I look at, how I operate my sinking funds is that um, I use Copilot, and I'll check at the month what I spent in my sinking fund categories, and then I move that into my account to pay off the credit card, and that's about it that I do monthly, and then network I check twice a year.
Yeah. There are so many different ways to do it. It really just is, how does it impact you? What matters to you? I have some clients where that is a really big motivator for them. Like for me, I love seeing my net worth go up. And when it's going up every single month, it's a lot of fun to just see how it keeps going up. Other people, that's overwhelming and stressful, and it's not a motivator. So don't look at it if it's not going to help you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thanks, Bran. Loving the claps. Okay, everyone, have a great rest of your night. Happy holidays. We hope the end of the year goes off smoothly for you and you start the year with a bang. We would love to see you in one of our coaching calls coming up, so make sure to reach out. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Dana. Thanks, Janice.
Thank you.